Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon sponsor Rhonda Corey. If you'd like to learn how you can sponsor the podcast through a small, monthly, recurring donation, check out schooloflaughs.com/PATREON. Thanks, Rhonda.
Welcome to the School of Laughs podcast, brought to you by schooloflaughs.com. Whether you're an aspiring comedian, a part-time pro, or a speaker who wants to become funnier, this is the podcast for you. We'll break down tools, tips, and techniques to help you get bigger, better, and more bookable. And now, here's the show.
Welcome to the podcast. Rick Roberts here with our second part of our two-part podcast series on setting goals for 2017. That's right, the new year's up on us, and if we don't set some goals soon, we won't have time to implement them, folks. I'm a big guy when it comes to setting goals. I love to be able to quantify what I'm doing, look back, see if I've done it well or where I fell short, and also kind of learn what not to do again, because we can set some goals that really didn't help us out at all. So whatever the goal may be for you in comedy, whether it's going full-time or just to get more time on stage, we're going to tackle it in these two podcasts. Last week, we talked all about writing, performing, networking, social media, those kinds of goals. This week, we're going to focus a little bit more on the income aspect. You know, all this is fun and games until you start earning some money and filing some taxes. And if you're not earning enough to file taxes, it's a hobby. And after 3 years, you can't even claim those deductions on your taxes anymore. So I'm not a tax guy. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm talking about the money coming in, not the money they're taking away. If your goal is to go full-time in comedy, you want to check out a few different podcasts. And throughout this episode, I'll be mentioning other podcasts as references since we've talked about a lot of these things in depth at different points. But several different podcasts I'd like you to check out. Former students going full-time that might inspire you. Episode 29 with Brian Bates, who's 2 years into full-time comedy now. He took the classes about 9 years ago, maybe 9.5. Johnny W., he's out there hitting full steam ahead, took the classes a while back. He's been full-time for a while. Episode 37 for Johnny W. Paula, her episode is 85. You want to check her out, and she talks about getting ready to go. I'm going to be talking to Paula again pretty soon to see how it went the first year. Mike James, episode 94, and Monty Mitchell, episode 90. Those are just a few of the former students who are full-time in comedy right now. Those episodes should inspire you and also let you know what to expect if you're trying to make that transition as your big goal this year to going full-time and earning some income. When it comes to earning income, two other podcasts I want to throw out really quick before we get into our goals. One is episode 10, Contracts. You don't have a contract, it's not a legally binding agreement, and you could get messed over in the end. So make sure you have a contract. That episode talks all about it and tells you how to get a free contract template from me. That's right, the giver. And episode 22, how much should I charge? How much should you charge? I mean, sometimes clubs just tell you you're booked. You don't even know what you're getting paid till the end of the week, if you're getting paid at all. Other times you're in charge of charging, and how much should you charge? Episode 22 goes into detail on that. So I put together two worksheets. It's in one PDF. If you'd like to go ahead and shoot me an email, you can pause this right now. Shoot me an email, schooloflaughs@gmail.com, and in the subject line of that email, put Goals Tracker Worksheets /Insider Tip Sheet. And what that'll do will sign you up for the newsletter, which comes out once a month. And the newsletter has all kinds of great stuff. It would have stuff like this in it already, so you wouldn't have to call and request it. And it also contains podcast recaps, links to articles about stand-up comedy that we find on the internet every month, the best 15 or 20 articles or videos, interviews with comedians, and that's all delivered right to your inbox through via the newsletter. So if you want to get this tracker sheet and join the newsletter list all in one fell swoop, just shoot that email to schooloflaughs@gmail.com and request the inside tip sheet /goals tracker checklist, and I'll shoot that right to you. First thing on this worksheet we have here, stand-up performances. How much money did you make last year performing stand-up comedy? Did you make some money? Did you make a lot of money? Did you lose money? You might have lost money out there just driving around to gigs, getting your traction, getting rolling. That's totally expected. I lost money the first year. I earned money, but the amount I spent on gas and travel and time was far above that. But how much did you bring in last year? What is your goal for this year? You want to double that? You want to triple it? You want to quadruple it? You want to have something? Maybe you had zero. Quadrupling zero is not going to help you out. But write down your goal for the new year, whatever dollar amount that is, and then divide that by 12, and that's what you got to hit every month to make that goal. So that's the first line on the worksheet. I also talk about stand-up performances and ways you can go about doing that on episodes 10, 14, and 15. So you might want to reference that and go back and listen to those. Maybe you earned money from appearing on TV doing your stand-up. How much did you do last year? What would you like to do this year? Some of that is out of your control. You get invited to do TV shows or TV opportunities come up. But, if it's on your radar, you should be hustling. You should be paying attention to different web boards, messages, what do they call those things? Chat rooms. There's a lot of different things online you can go into and check and stay current with who's casting what. But how much did you make last year? What do you want to make this year? Or how many appearances did you have last year? How many appearances do you want to have this year? Those are a couple of goals you can have. All right, for me, the next thing is speeches. I do comedy, but of course I also do some speeches where I motivate people with a lot of humor and some takeaway points. What did I make this year? Write that down. And then what do you want to make next year? Write that number down. Again, divide that by 12, and that's your monthly goal. Go out and hustle and make that money from those speeches. From speeches sometimes comes coaching or teaching. I do speeches where I have some breakouts, and if people want to, they can kind of keep me on monthly to follow up and coach them some more in those different areas. I also do that with the School of Laughs, obviously. So if you're a speaker who does breakouts or does webinars or follow-up one-on-one coaching, what did you make last year? Did you enjoy doing that? If so, would you like to increase that as part of your income pie next year? Write that number down. Again, divide by 12. All right, streaming appearances. I mentioned I did a couple of TV shows last year, but they weren't really TV shows. They were streaming things. One on the Dove channel, one on PureFlix. How many more of those opportunities are out there? How many more did you do? Did you do something maybe on Laughs TV, on Fox, or whatever it may have been? Maybe you got to do Kimmel or one of the late night shows. What's your goal for this year, and how are you going to attack that goal? What kind of material do you need for that to happen, and how are you going to approach getting that material worked on? But as far as the income, what income came as a byproduct of appearing on any of those platforms? Did you make money writing comedy for other people? I know a couple of my students actually write for other comedians and speakers, and sometimes that can be hard to do. Sometimes they love doing it, but either way, that's another income stream you can look at if you're a prolific writer writing for other people. If you did that last year, what did you earn? If you want to tackle it again this year, how much more would you like to earn? And again, only if you enjoy doing that. Don't increase goals on things you don't enjoy doing. It's just going to drive you crazy. Another income stream, of course, is royalties. If you get played on Sirius XM radio, in fact, if you'd like to learn how to do that, you can get on episode number 5, where I briefly talk about the process. And if you really are going to get into it, you want to listen to episode 48, where I talk to a Sound Exchange executive, and she lays out the benefits of registering with Sound Exchange. They collect the royalties for artists who appear on the web or streaming, anything like that. And we talk about how to go about doing that at soundexchange.com if you just want to check that out really quickly. But what were your royalties from that last year, and what would you like them to be this year? That is somewhat, mostly, and almost 100% out of your control, unless you're giving them new product and they've been playing you a lot. There's no guarantee at any time that they'll continue to play you. In fact, I saw some massive decrease in royalties this year from SiriusXM. And, one of my goals is to get them a new stand-up CD, so maybe they increase that. But you can't really lay hard on those folks and make them play your stuff more. But I do have a goal of getting played more, and by recording new material and sending that in, I hope to increase that number. So if you've got those in the past, what were they last year, and what would you like them to be next year? Do you write? Do you write blogs? I know Paula from our previous episode we talked about a while back. She went full-time in episode 85. But Paula wrote articles that got into I think it was either New York Times or Wall Street Journal or Huffington Post. But you get paid for writing those articles. So if that's something that you're doing, what did you make last year? What would you like to make this year? Again, somewhat out of your control, but if you're writing great content, the chances increase significantly that you'll be able to get more publishing. Maybe you're a creative person. You write video scripts. Did that this past year. I got paid for that. Is that something you do? Something you could do? Look around. Different people that create content. Sometimes they need scripting done to make those things funnier. Voiceover work. Do you record anything on radio or for web series, cartoons, any kind of voiceover work? Industrial films where different companies teach people how to go about doing their business, or they inform people. That's another thing I did this past year. Something you can do. I wouldn't say it's easy, but you look around at different talent agencies in the area and see if that's something that they farm out and you want to be on their list. So video scripting, did you do that? Voiceover work, did you do that? How much, and how much would you like to increase that? Did you earn money from YouTube advertising? Now, got to be totally honest, you got to have a lot of views, a lot of subscribers to make that work, but that can be an income if you have a high amount of traffic. A lot of people think you just post a video and you collect some money. It really takes a lot of traffic. So if you're listening and you're one of those YouTube creators, what did you make last year? What do you hope to make this year, and how are you going to go about doing that? That should be a goal. Those CPC clicks, cash, brother, if you're doing it right. Another thing you might be able to earn money from, I did this past year, is refer a comic to somebody and take a slight commission or finder's fee for doing that. I'm not a booking agency. At one time, I thought I wanted to pursue that route. And honestly, comics are pretty horrible at getting you good video and good content that you can share with people who want to book comics. And I salute those people now who book comics and can do it well. Something I no longer really want to do. I still do get a couple of checks from people who every year send me a commission, a couple $100 on a gig that they continue to book that I led them to the first time. But that can be a number that you can increase. Did you do it last year? If so, how much? And how much would you like it to be next year? What actions are you going to take to earn more by booking other comedians? All right, let's talk about acting a little bit. As a comic, if you perform a lot, you're comfortable on stage, you can deliver things with emotion, and acting is certainly something you can do as a side hustle, if you want to call it that. I did a radio commercial and a TV commercial this past year. Not a ton of money. It was a little local thing, but a lot of fun. Made some contacts, connections that actually led to a different gig in a different area. But did you do any radio or TV commercials this past year? If so, how much did you earn? How much do you want to earn in 2017? I talked about industrials a minute ago. I didn't do one last year, but in the previous year I did. And that's basically where a company is doing an in-house video, either a training video or a video to help people understand their product so that they can purchase that product. Industrials oftentimes use comedians to kind of make it more fun because some of this is really dry topics, just like our podcast today is super dry. But it's necessary to have some fun and engage those people. So industrial commercials and films, those are out there. That's something you can do again. Go find a talent agency in your area, see what you need to do to get on their roster, and then get involved with that. It's not always the most fun gig, but some of those industrials can be pretty lucrative. And oftentimes, if you're a stand-up, they'll ask for you some creative input, which I had on the industrial I did a couple of years ago, and that can be a revenue stream as well. And then, talking about streams, just streaming. Are you streaming anything and charging people for it? With PureFlix, Netflix, all these different platforms out there, comics are shooting their own video specials and creating deals with Netflix, PureFlix, other groups like that. I'm going to try to get some people on the podcast to explain that process a little bit better. But you can be writing your own stuff, putting it up, and getting paid as people download it. So is there anything you're streaming out there that you can charge for? Did you do it last year? If so, how much? Next year, what's your goal? And as we head here in the home stretch, let's take a look at merchandise. If you're on the road a lot, merchandise can, as you know, double your income many times. Clubs aren't paying much more than they did ever, if they are paying more at all. So what are you doing when you're on stage that you can monetize? You want to look at if you have a catchphrase, if you have a punchline that gets the biggest laugh of your show. That can certainly be a T-shirt. And T-shirt's a little cumbersome to carry around, but the markup is pretty good. In fact, if you need a good deal on a T-shirt, I know a guy I can hook you up with. He does $5 tees. They're really nice. They're that thinner tee that look really sharp. They're super comfortable. You get an image on the front, one color, any size, $5 plus shipping. great. You can mark those things up to $20 and make $15 a shirt, roughly $15 after your shipping costs. But are you selling T-shirts? Did you sell them last year? How much did you make? How much more do you want to make this year? Did you try different sizes, different colors, different models to see if you could increase the amount of sales? CDs, do you have one? Do you have two? Do you have three? Do you have none? How many did you sell last year? How many do you want to sell this year? Bundling merchandise is always a great way to go. If you've got a T-shirt and a CD, an easy thing to do is say, hey, they're $15 each or 2 for $25. I did that for years and years in the comedy clubs and always sold more that way. Very few people are going to buy one or the other for $15, but they'll oftentimes buy both for $25. 2 T-shirts for $25. Did that right and left like crazy. So CDs, T-shirts, DVDs, do you have one? Do people buy them? Yeah, they still buy them, but it's not as much as they used to. Same thing with CDs. Download cards, I've got those available too. Do you sell any of those? So track your sales on those. What did you make last year? What do you want to make this year? Do you sell posters, stickers, buttons, whatever? What are you selling out there? What did you sell last year? How much do you want to sell next year? That should be a goal. Books, comics can write books. Write your story. If you haven't written a book yet, I'm with you. But I'm in the process of writing 3 right now, and that's going to be a big goal of mine next year, not only to finish those, but also to sell those books, and that's on my radar and on my to-do list, as well as on my goal tracker worksheet here, and I'm really looking forward to knocking those things out and moving on to the next phase with a lot of different things here. A lot of different income streams there. I'm sure some of you guys listening get money different ways from your comedic talents. I'd love to hear about that. You can certainly write those in on the Goals Tracker worksheet and see what you did last year, what do you want to do next year, and be able to look at this sheet throughout the year and make a conscious effort to make more product, make more content, sell more things, earn more money, be a better comic, and have a bigger impact. Then I guess the last 2 little blots at the end, the last 2 little spots, what was your total income from all things comedy last year? And then what do you want that to be next year? Again, refer to these things often. You can write these goals and put them in a drawer and not see them until next year, and nothing's going to get done. Knock it out. Be accountable. Again, if you're in the Patreon support level of $7 a month or more on our Google Hangout, we're going to go through these and line up our goals for next year and hold each other accountable. That's going to be something we do throughout the year. If you haven't joined the Patreon group and you want to, $7 a month. It's probably the best deal in comedy as far as keeping your business going. You can check that out on my website, schooloflaughs.com/Patreon, or just get some comedy buddies around. Request this worksheet. I'll send it to you. You can copy it off, give it to your buddies, and hold each other accountable. Maybe quarterly even. Get together and see how you're doing on your goals and see how you can help each other out. And other than that, thank you guys for listening. Thanks, Rhonda Corey, for sponsoring the podcast and being a Patreon sponsor. And again, if one of your goals for next year is being a better comedian and doing that through writing better, check out schooloflaughs.com, the online classes link. And on that link, click the Silver Edition if you want to just kind of get the bare bones writing course. And if you enter Better Comedy at checkout in all capital letters, you'll get 20% off that course, which is normally priced at $97.77. That'll knock it down considerably. And you'll be able to take that course and get going with your comedy. All right, thanks again for listening. We're ending the year here pretty soon. I do want to give you a heads up. In 2017, one of my goals is to create a series of books based on the podcast and based on my comedy classes. And to do that, I'm going to be scaling down the podcast to every other week, which I think for me will give me some time to work on those books and focus on those books, but also keep the podcast going so we can all stay connected. Sign up for that Insider Tip newsletter so you get that once a month to keep you accountable, and you'll get these kinds of worksheets delivered right to your inbox without any further effort. schooloflaughs@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay funny.
Thanks for listening to the School of Laughs podcast. If you'd like to hear more School of Laughs podcasts, you can find them on iTunes and Stitcher.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For information on upcoming live and online classes, visit schooloflaughs.com. Until next time, stay tuned, stay focused, and stay